Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to the show, Jack Chow on East West with G&E TV. Well, to end the year of 2014, there's all kinds of news, but at this moment, we're talking about the sad news about the missing airplane in South Malaysian Sea, Java Sea? Is that Java Sea of the Indonesian air flight QZ8501. Once again this year, this is the third time we're talking about the planes. We're talking about the devastating or catastrophic disaster of airplanes. So to get to the point, to get to the hope, we believe there is a hope. There is always a hope. So we keep our fingers crossed to make sure there is a hope. To get to the point, I have invited my good friend, Shel Parker, who is an expert pilot flying Chrysler Aviation for Aviation Inc. So to talk about it. So welcome, Shel, to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. You know, it is a moment the whole world showed the concern. People are saddened about the news. So to get to the very point, though, this is not the first time of this year. This is the second or even third, right?
This is the second Malaysian flight that has gone missing this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I just recently found out that worldwide there are 8 Airbuses currently missing.
I see. You know, Shel, it is still too early, like lots of commentators says that to give any speculations about what happened, right?
Right, correct.
But it is always a smart way to think about what we know so far. With the information on hand, we might hope what have not happened, right? This is the other philosophy. And also, from a technical point of view, to talk on the average about the equipment, about the safety factors, about the communication factors, we can always bring our audiences some information for them to analyze, to take it their own way.
Right.
Do you think that's a right approach?
I think it's good to gather as much information as possible in order to try to prevent something disastrous as this has from ever happening again.
How many years have you been flying?
I've been flying since 1983, Jack.
1983, you're talking about 31 years of experiences.
That's correct, 31
All right,
years.
you have accumulated enough time, enough experiences to say anything about flying.
Yes, but I'm not thoroughly indoctrinated in this particular airplane. I do fly some airplanes that are fairly good sized airplanes, the Gulfstream and the Challenger, which I'm current on now, which have similar equipment. We don't have the exact same equipment as this Airbus had. We don't know right now exactly which equipment it had on board, such as ACARS, A-Rink equipment, satellite phone.
I see.
These kind of things.
I have a stupid question, maybe naive. Are airplanes like automobiles? You have the basic equipment that has a roof, has 4 tires, has a wheel, and has an engine, of course.
Yes, that would be very crude.
Very basic. And then for luxuries, you can order your own leather seats, your sunroof, or moonroof, whatever things. Right. To the basic, though, as much as you know about an Airbus, in terms of communication, what should have been there as by manufacturer?
Well, by manufacturer, it would have been required by law to have TCAS, which is a traffic TCAS, which is a traffic collision avoidance system. It will pick up the transponders from other aircraft in the vicinity to try to give the pilots information as to where the traffic perhaps will be coming close to them.
Near about you.
Right. So each airplane is equipped with a transponder. And in these days, they're all required to have a Mode S transponder, which transmits a tail number. and other particular identifying information about the aircraft. And that transmits out to TCAS-equipped aircraft as well as the air traffic controllers that are on the ground.
I see, I see. So for a aircraft leaving the motherboard, leaving the airport though, it has, during the way, when it's close enough to the base, the signal goes back, right?
Right.
And then when you're approaching, you're to the more closer to your destination, the signal goes the other way.
It will be received from any station that's within radio range of the transmitter.
I see.
So
I see.
there may be several towers along the route which will pick up the signal and share that signal with the next tower, sort of like a cellular telephone tower. You'll be able to talk on the freeway going from here to Las Vegas because there are several towers en route, and you usually don't even notice that the signal is being picked up from the other tower. In the same way, a radio communication with the VHF radio, the very high frequency radio, or the high frequency radio, which is used for long distance over water trouble.
I see.
So in this particular flight, I'm looking at the route of flight. I haven't ever flown this route before, but my best, under my best judgment right here, the entire route is in radar coverage.
It is, right? It is.
I believe so.
In other words, it is always, the signals could always be picked up, one way or the other.
Right, and in fact, I believe that the air traffic controller radars will have this aircraft on primary radar as well as secondary, using the Mode S transponder for altitude and position.
All right. In other words, for a distance as short as 2 hours something flight though, it is impossible, or is less possible, for something missing, something of that size, something of that kind of equipment missing. Am I right?
That's correct. It seems quite disturbing that it could be missing.
Quite disturbing, huh?
Yes.
Quite disturbing. Yes. So by logic, what would be the factors that overturns the whole thing? Say, hey, it is missing right away. What would have caused it?
Well, we understand that there was a request for a change of altitude.
All right.
And that request was denied by air traffic control because there was another aircraft at a higher altitude that they were requesting.
I see.
I think they were requesting flight level 380, and they were at a lower altitude. They wanted to go higher to clear this weather.
I see.
They told them, no, you can't go up there yet. You're going to have to wait, or we'll vector you. And they gave them a radar vector off their course, but they would be still under radar coverage, that they would be able to come back on once they're clear of the weather.
I see, I see.
And somewhere between that radio communication, apparently they lost radar on them, the blip disappeared, and now we're looking for the airplane.
In other words, the factor, the main factor, or the reasonable factor could be, at least one of them, could be the weather.
Yes, the weather could be a factor.
The stormy conditions, something like that?
Yes, the weather could have played a factor.
So speaking of that kind of weather though, I read on my homework, doing my homework, saying that for this time of the year, in that specific region over the water though, it is quite a norm to see that kind of weather. And for a pilot who has accumulated 6,100 hours of, at least, of flying experiences, would have known that as a norm, like such as I deal with my problems while taping.
Yes.
Like, I know how to do it because it's my norm, right? It is my specialty to do that. So if I apply the same logic to that, do you think that works?
I would say that the flight crew on board this airplane were aware of the weather. They were briefed on it before they departed.
Yeah.
And they have weather radar. And they're looking at the weather radar while they're flying. They can see, this was a morning flight.
Yeah, this is what happened ahead of us, right?
And they were able to see this weather because it was daytime. So they could possibly see a thunderstorm, make their turn, around this to avoid it. Now,
see.
if they were going through something that was severe and they encountered a microburst, downburst, something that could cause the airplane, disrupt the flight path of the airplane, in other words, stall the airplane, that would be catastrophic. I hope that didn't happen, but my understanding is that they were given a radar vector to turn and avoid weather.
I've heard about one of the commentators saying that weather could be a factor, but only a contributing factor, not the main factor.
Right.
What's your take on that?
Well, for this airplane is equipped to fly through any weather.
All right,
But,
all right.
I mean, in terms of known icing conditions, that's rain, ice, snow, you have it. But when you get into a weather situation where there's extreme microbursts, the downdrafts can be so extreme that the airplane cannot outclimb that. So there's no aircraft that is able to go through that type of weather.
Yeah, once
if they
again,
encountered
yeah,
that. But
yeah.
but that type of weather is fortunately not too common.
Yeah, all right, okay. In other words, once again, you're talking about flying the same route in the same area. So during time of the year, with the 61 hours occurrence, you should have known that. And then with the weather radar, you know what's happening ahead of you. You can either circle around, or whatever. Or you can even cancel the flight in the very beginning. It's only 2 hours you're talking about.
Right.
You know what you're heading to, you can cancel it, right?
And there's always the option to the pilot, either the captain and his first officer, to tell air traffic control if we have to deviate to the extent of an emergency. If it's an emergency situation, that captain can deviate around a thunderstorm.
All right.
And then afterwards tell the air traffic controller, we're really sorry, but we had to make an evasive maneuver around the weather.
All right. Probably, to my audiences, I would like to update with you a little bit. Today, I have invited a flying expert, Mr. Shell Parker, to talk about it. He himself has accumulated 31 years of flying experiences. I believe he has a right to say something, even though he was not there in the very airplane. So let's take a moment out. Let's find out what it authorized or authorization vested in a pilot that in terms of handling emergencies, what can he do or what he cannot do. So stay with us. We'll be right back, please.